Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 158. Tonight, we'll be giving you our player and match analysis of Wolverhampton Wanderers' 2-0 win over Aston Villa. We'll talk about Rob Edwards and the job he's done so far, take some of your questions, and look ahead to the double week against Liverpool in the league and in the Cup. Before we get started, let's remind ourselves just a little bit about Friday night. A little bit more. Just getting us in the mood, boys. We don't win very often, so we thought we'd make the most of it. Of course, I'm delighted to be joined by our captain and our director of football in the form of Nocky and Chris Tyler. Nocky, we'll start off with you. We wasn't sure it was going to happen. It could have gone really bad, but it didn't. Your take on Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Aston Villa 0.
I wasn't comfortable going into the game, but I didn't take into account the fact that Villa are absolutely terrified of playing at Molineux. It was. I thought it was a strange game. I mean, they're clearly a better side. They've got good players. They're third for a reason. But I felt that we were really disciplined in what we did. I thought that the shape was good. First half, we were making sure we stayed in the game, I think, was the tactic. We didn't give anything daft away. We maybe didn't impose ourselves in the way that we probably should. Jackson, who improved massively second half, didn't take the space and was clumsy with the ball. I wasn't comfortable with Tolu coming out and then going João Gomez in, mainly because I slaughtered him last week and I probably shouldn't have done. But it absolutely worked tactically. I thought he got it spot on. I thought having the extra body in midfield, especially when you got Bellegarde in there, because I really like Bellegarde, the way he runs around, links up the play, drops into midfield. It gave us a little bit of a foothold against what is a good Villa midfield with Onana and Rodgers. And I thought we dealt with them very well, even though they're both very clever players. We let them drop off. We were happy for Onana to have the ball, but then when Rodgers got it, we pressed and we squeezed them a little bit. And I thought we grew into the game really well. And then second half, I think we thoroughly deserved to win the game. And I know they've created chances and they've had a couple of pretty big opportunities, but we were ruthless. And we scored 2 really good goals. The first one in particular, the football for that with the movement and the nutmeg and playing it out wide, Chichu with a great ball inside. And then the finish, it was just a really, really good goal. And to get that second goal when we did as well, and Molineux is just absolutely pandemonium at that point. And it just felt like a result that I didn't think would happen, but I desperately wanted, because when you've had a season like this, we spoke about it before, you want something to hold on to. You want something to take with you, and to have put a massive dent in their Champions League campaign, it might seem small time, but it's a little bit of an oasis in the abyss of what's been a dreadful season. So I thought they did well. I thought they worked hard. I thought tactically we did very, very well, and the players were very brave. And I think the minimum requirement, as we said, is for them to work hard. They absolutely did that, and it was a day to be proud to be a Wolves fan, I think, because they really left everything on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. A thoroughly enjoyable evening, Tyler. I've got to say, I was a bit frustrated first half because I didn't think there were. But Nocky makes a fair point that they're maybe just trying to see how the game went. I just thought they were a bit naive first half. I think there was a lot of rash kicking out of the ball, but in the end, it didn't really matter because Wolves won 2-0. But less about me, more about you, Tyler. Your take on Wolves 2, Aston Villa 0.
No, I agree with that. I think it's fair. And Nocky's assessment is fair, but it's only fair because we won, if that makes sense. Sounds a bit of a stupid thing to say, but Villa could easily have been 2 or 3-0 up for me at half time. And then it's a different conversation, isn't it, that we're having. But yeah, the tactics seem to be to try and nullify them in midfield, to stay in the game. We did stay in the game, whether it's more by luck than judgment. We managed to do it. Second half, you expected them to probably come out and you know, with a bit of a rocket from memory, but it didn't ever really materialise, did it? And like Nocky said, it was fairly comfortable, really, second half. And they only looked threatening when they probably had nothing to lose and they were sort of throwing numbers forward and the ball was bouncing in the box. And I was just waiting for them to score because that sort of sums up where our season has been, doesn't it? Yeah, you're just waiting for it to bounce nicely, deflect or whatever. But for once it went our way, didn't it? You know, we had the block off the line. We had the shot going straight at Sarr. We had them hitting the side netting. We had the ref missed a call. It just sort of all tended to go our way. And like Mark said, it was the same as last season, wasn't it? You then go away in stoppage time and score the second. And I remember Kuna did it last season and Rodrigo did it this year. And obviously then the relief's all there, isn't it? But yeah, I thought it was a strange game. I mean, if you are a Villa fan, and obviously where I live, I'm surrounded by them, you would be frustrated. I think you would be a bit disappointed because I think they probably have, to a point, controlled large aspects of the game and had the main chances. We've had 2 shots on target, we've scored 2 goals, and we've taken the point. So happy days. And that's happened, to us enough times this season, hasn't it? Where we felt a bit hard done by. So yeah, not nice to have a smile on our face for one weekend. Second time this season, isn't it? So let's hope we can get a couple more before the season's out.
Absolutely, Nocky. We talk about it on this show a lot in terms of making your own luck. It does feel like this season Wolves have been punished for pretty much everything, and you could say that's down to quality, because in the Premier League, if you give the better sides chances, they usually take them. I would say Wolves did have a little bit of fortune in the first half, but we were due that. And I think overall, by the end of the game, the performance probably warranted a Wolves win.
Yeah, and I think Chris, what he says is absolutely valid. But we're bottom of the league. We know we're not as good as the teams around us. So you're not going to play a team who's sat third in the table and dominate that game and go and pick up 3 comfortable points. It's just not going to happen. So you have to have a game plan. You have to have a tactic. And we stayed in there, and he made some tactical tweaks at half time to kind of move the press onto the midfield area rather than on the back line, let them have a little bit more space. So I think tactically that was an intelligent thing to do. But they're a better side than us, aren't they? They spent a lot of money. They've kept the quality that they had, and they've brought extra quality in. So I didn't ever think we'd go in there and dictate and dominate the game. But I think when you know that you're up against a superior opponent, just keep the ball, don't do anything daft, keep in your shape, make them commit and make them come on to you. And that's what they did. And we were able to find space around them. But I thought we were really intelligent in possession. And I thought we were clever in how we moved the ball. And we always had an option. And Adam Armstrong, I know we signed him predominantly for the Championship. I thought he was absolutely superb. I thought he was brilliant, the way he controlled the ball, the way he got involved with everything, his little layoffs, his runs in behind. And I tweeted out after the game, if we had a Ruben Neves, I think Armstrong's probably on 3 or 4 goals already, because he continuously made a run and split the back line, but no one found him. So there's some real pluses we can take out of it. And as I said, we know where we are, we know the quality we've got, and we know where we're going to be next season. So you've got to play the game the right way to beat a team like Villa, and I think we did that. So they deserve a lot of credit for that performance.
Yeah, you're always nervous about taking on a team like Villa, Chris, and lots of people, you see it in the media, you've seen it particularly on the social media with the fan base, you've seen it with Emery and some of the players, people talking about Aston Villa not turning up again at Molineux. Again, I think this is a bit disrespectful, because the way the Wolves applied themselves, particularly with the 2 dogs in midfield, the Brazilians haven't played particularly great for a long time together. That was a phenomenal centre midfielder performance. And for me, this wasn't a game where Villa didn't play bad. I would more credit Wolves for not allowing them to play, because when they got into our final third, or even the midfield at times, they did not give Villa a second to play football at all. Lots of possession in the middle third, yes. When it got to the business end, I thought our defence and holding midfielders were excellent.
Yeah, it was nice to see Joe Gomez, wasn't it? And maybe you listened to the podcast last week. I don't know, Ryan. And
Evening, Joe.
Heard Nocky say that he should be released on a free transfer after his performance at Crystal Palace. So, I know we're not right all the time, but nice for Nocky to get that one right. But that was the Joe Gomez
performance. It should have been so.
That was the Joe Gomez that we all know and love, isn't it? That's his game, isn't it? All action, impacting both ends. He doesn't do it anywhere near enough, and let's not pretend I'm going to give him lots of praise, because he has been way off it, but that's his levels. He was comfortably, for me, probably the best player on the pitch for both teams, to be honest. He was, both ends of the park, gets a goal, gets an assist. He's got it all, really, and it's just a shame that whether he's not in the right team or whatever, we can talk about it till the cows come home, that he hasn't performed. But I personally think Wolves are just a better team when him and Andre are in it together. And again, it's a pretty low bar, because they don't come up with goals and assists, and they don't give us everything we need. But we've just got a base to work from, and a bit of a platform when those 2 are in there. And I'm not his biggest fan but I know you two are, and Nocky touched upon it. When Bellegarde's in the team, you can sort of then have a bit of a license for him to be a bit further forward and to take the ball and half turn and try and make stuff happen. Whereas when it's just Bellegarde and one other, that license tends to go. So yeah, it just worked, didn't it? You know, Mane I thought was different level. To be honest, I
The
thought
strength of a guy for 18 years old is unreal.
It wasn't like his flashiest performance or one you might notice, but I just thought he was outstanding again, defensively, in midfield. Then he was off the front man. I thought he was brilliant. You know, maturity way above his year. So, you know, we've talked about it on here, and Edward sort of stumbled across a formula. And you look at the Wolves team now, and I think you have to find a way of Andre Gomez, Bellegarde, and Mane being in it. You know, they have to play for me, and then it's sort of who you put in and around that, really. But yeah, the midfield, Andre Gomez, I thought were very good.
Something that I didn't hold back on social media was my frustration that Tolu being left out again. I mean, it happened a few games and we've been absolutely abysmal. And for the first half, the ball wasn't really coming back, Nocky. But you know what? Hands up, you got to say, in the end, it worked out this time. But I think we spoke at half time. It's like, it kind of looks like we need Tolu because we're not really hurting Villa. But that method in the end of grinding Villa down and being braver in the second half, it actually worked without the big man. And that's the first time I've seen that happen, Nocky, because previously in games, you're crying out for Tolu, like away at Man City. There was another game as well when we dropped him, and the ball just kept coming back. And I thought in the first half, we were okay and the shape was reasonably good, but it wasn't sticking. But you know what? I've got to hold my hands up in credit because in the end, it worked and Wolves did show they could play without a big man. Yeah,
I mean, I was worried about Tolu not playing mainly because he's not a ginormous kind of goal threat, but he's very good defensively. He's really good on set pieces and corners. And you know, Villa like to sling the ball in the box. So I didn't really understand that decision initially. But then when you see how the midfield kind of trio, and I know Bellegarde is floating around a bit, but those three together really caused Villa problems. They made them have to push the ball wide as opposed to play through the middle. And then our wing backs were very, very good defensively. So we kind of stifled them with that. But it worked, you know, whichever way you look at it, it works. And I know we spoke about stumbling on formations. I think what he's very good at doing is finding a system that works and kind of trying to push that system and keep it going and make the right changes at the right time. So I think the system itself worked. We grew into the game second half, as we said, but we did have a conversation at half time that it probably wasn't working. But was it not working, or was it tactically that we just weren't going to really try and overexpose and impose ourselves on the game at that stage? So you got to give him credit for that. It was the right decision to make. But I think he took a big gamble because if we lose the game with Tolu in the side, I think we'll probably just accept that we're not that good. So to take that risk and then go and get 3 points, he deserves some credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't think it was a particularly great first half. I know other people have said they thought Wolves were good, Tyler. I don't think it was a great first half. I think it was Wolves were a little bit fortunate. Again, in the end, I don't really care, but I'm just trying to be real. I don't think it was a great first half. I think it was a half where players weren't playing particularly well, particularly Jackson. There was almost a reluctancy to find that through ball for Armstrong. There was a reluctancy to give the ball to Jackson. There was a reluctancy for Jackson to go further up and travel with the ball. But Tyler, whatever we said at half time, what a difference it made.
Yeah, I've been Edwards' his biggest critic, but Jackson, that first half was as difficult as the first half I've probably watched for being a Wolves fan. And I don't mean that totally against him, but just every time he got the ball, there was just a deep breath in the crowd, wasn't it? Bless every single time he got the ball. And you got to be careful with him because we've got this expectation that he's Cafu and that he's going to pick the ball up, and because he's quick, he's going to get to the byline every time and put a ball in. But realistically, that's not the case. So whatever Edwards did or said to him at half time, fair play, because he came out like a man-possessed second half. He was absolutely outstanding. And I never thought I'd sort of say that, to be honest. But defensively, he was brilliant. But offensively, like Mark said, created the first goal. At least 2 or 3 occasions where he just put the ball out of his feet and he whipped across in. He looked a different player. And I've been Edwards' his biggest critic, but whatever he said to him at half time totally worked. And like I said, I was expecting Villa to probably come out and have had a bit of a hairdryer from Emery and come out.
A couple of minutes they did. As soon as we weathered that,
and then you're expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting them to take control, but they never did. It never happened. And, we scored first. And like Mark said, you're sort of pretty comfortable, really. And it was only, like I said, those last 5 or 10 minutes where the ball's bobbing around the box. Yeah, but the second goal was always there. But I've been Toti's biggest critic. I thought, he looked like he'd won a tournament to play first half, but second half, he headed and kicked everything away. Santi Bueno, outstanding. Can't fault him. He's sort of really grown into that middle centre-back role. Yerson, again, I know we sort of differ on, but he's sort of got his place in the side and he adds value, doesn't he? So by hook or by crook, like we said, we sort of stumbled upon a match-winning performance second half, but they deserve it. We've been their biggest critics on here. We've given them loads of stick. But yeah, to get a clean sheet and beat your local rivals 2-0, no matter if you're on, no points, 10 points or 40 points, it's always a nice feeling, isn't it?
Absolutely. Nocky, let's get round to the goals. A little bit of weather in the storm, probably first 5 minutes of the second half, and then Wolves broke. Now, Adam Armstrong said in his interview he laid it back. I'm not sure he meant that. I think he was trying to turn. But you know what? I don't care. Nocky, talk me through the opening goal when Joe Gomez scored to put Wolves 1-0 ahead.
I think it started because we had bodies in midfield, didn't it? Because we were able to get the ball and Gomez with a lovely little nutmeg plays it out wide. And we've all been screaming, as Chris said, for Chichua just to get his head down and burn himself to the touchline and try and swing the ball in. He was really clever in this pass, and I think he means it as well, the way he lays it in. It's not just a hopeful drill into the penalty area. He's picking out Armstrong. And a little touch from Armstrong, whether he's meant it or not, it sat perfectly up for Gomez, and you ain't going to save that when he's hit it that well off the crossbar. Really, really good moment, and it changed the whole dynamic of the game after that. Villa seemed to go into panic mode, and we were able to really settle down and get a little bit of a grip of things. So it was really good. But in terms of a team goal and the kind of football we've played, it was like going back 5 or 6 years, really, when we had a really competitive team and we used to knock the ball around and we used to play through midfield, and you'd have Martinho and Neves playing those little angle balls through the way that we managed to break into the attacking area. So yeah, really nice to see. Probably one of the best goals we've scored this season, and we ain't scored that many, have we? But it's certainly on the list because of the one-touch football, the quick movements, the darting from the centre forward, the following up from the midfield that we've moaned about consistently on this podcast that we don't do enough of. So really, really pleased, and it was a wonderful feeling to go a goal up in that game.
Yeah, it was a great feeling, Tyler, and it was a great goal and a great finish. But you've talked and highlighted the stats of midfield of no goals and no assists. Joe Gomez in the midfield three finds himself pretty much just inside the box and attack. And Joe Gomez is capable of that. Remember a couple of years ago when he went to Spurs, he scored the header, he got on the end of one. He's capable, but we've been so fragmented and so there's been no real consistency. But again, 3-man in midfield. Bellegarde, again, he's capable of playing the 2, but in a 3. It allowed also Gomez to go up there. So it worked, an absolutely brilliant goal. We had the pressure in the game then. Villa pressed. There was a couple of good saves and a couple of blocks. But yeah, Tyler, that moment when it went Wolves 2, Aston Villa 0.
Yeah, you just know it's job done, don't you? And yeah, second year in a row that's happened, hasn't it? And it was always on, wasn't it? The break was always on the last sort of 5 minutes. Villa are rightly, just throwing the kitchen sink, I think, like you mentioned. And you just want that bit of calmness and that pass where you sort of then break that line and then you're in. And it was a bit scrappy how it got there, wasn't it? But again, a bit like the first goal, there were numbers in the box. And I remember we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast. At least now we are getting numbers in the box. There's numbers forward. If it wasn't Rodrigo, but there was someone else ready to sort of take the shot, and a couple of players in and around the area. So yeah, it's not going to win a goal of the tournament competition, is it? But just pure relief. And Rodrigo, I've sort of been saying I do think he's a bit of a finisher. I don't see how he's impacted many games for Wolves starting them, unfortunately. But when he comes on with that energy, that pace, that enthusiasm, that can only be a good thing for sort of the last 15, 20 minutes. And yeah, it's nice for him to get a goal because no one can, question his effort, his commitment at all.
Yeah, he's a guy. It's a really interesting one you're talking about that, Tyler, because again, he's just proven the point that you made. I think maybe last week when we were talking about there's obviously a debate over Chachua or him starting or Pedro Lima. He's a guy that comes on. I mean, he's done it multiple times in games. I don't think he's the most gifted footballer, but he's relentless enthusiasm and that energy late on. He just finds himself in great positions. So, yeah, I'm not sure at 22, 23 he wants to be an impact sub, but at the moment, that's probably where he is. I don't know if he's technical enough to play higher up, even though I think he actually was probably, like playing in midfield near the end of that game. I don't know, but you know what? I'm delighted for him, and it's a proper smile when he scores, isn't it? But, Nocky, before we go to the teams, those scenes at the end of the game, that's where you go, isn't it? I think you tweeted out a great tweet, Nocky, talking about the pain we've been through. But you know what? It doesn't really make a lot of difference to the league table. But as a football fan, when you beat your local rivals, this is why you keep going.
Yeah, I spoke to you both before. I think it's amazing that something that means so little means so much, because it's such a big moment for us as supporters, but in the context of the season, it won't make a great deal of difference. I just want to see fight in the team. I won't criticise a Wolves team that I can see giving 100% and fighting for the shirt and scrapping for the badge. That's all you ask for. It's a minimum requirement, but it's the only requirement is for them to give 100% when they're on the pitch. And I felt that we got that from the players. And you look at a Yerson Mosquera, I know he splits opinion, but he threw himself in front of everything. He looked like he was willing to die for the cause against Villa. That's the kind of feeling I got from him. And then you're defending a lead in the 97th minute and he goes absolutely tearing up the pitch to join the attack for the second goal. You know, it's that level of commitment that is erratic. It's bizarre, but it's what you want to see as a supporter. And you can buy into a club based on that. And we've spoken on here before that we don't really care who leaves because we don't feel we've got any kind of connection with the players. And the reason being is we haven't seen that all season. When you see things like that, and Molineux was beautiful in that second half. It was spiteful. It was angry. It was back to where it was under the Nuno days when we came to the Premier League. It was loud. You know, it was aggressive in the right way. You know, our fans would behave, their fans weren't, but it was the right kind of feeling in the ground, and it was just a great emotion-packed afternoon, and that's all we ask for as supporters. So it's important that when the bad times are there, you don't walk away from the club, you stay with them, because these are the memories that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. So I really enjoyed that, and I was there with my dad, and I was there with my son as well, and to see them enjoying it after the season that we've had, it's a really special memory.
I mean, I wish I had the videos and had time to put them on, but there were some really good videos from the away end. I don't know if everyone's seen them, but you guys probably have. A couple of the ones of TikToks. The absolute limbs for that second goal was just tremendous, and that's a moment that's not thinking about the big picture. That's not thinking about relegation. It's watching your team confirm a win against a local rival just to get a bit of pride, and it just shows how much it means, because we know we're down, we know it's done, but to turn it on in the second half, I mean, Tyler, the limbs at the end, that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's why you go. I mean, God knows what would happen if we scored a really, really important goal that meant something other than sort of a satisfying local win. But to see all those people, that moment, what we talked about, what a goal means to us, that moment of ecstasy it gives, and we've not seen that at Molineux for a long time. But those scenes were an absolute joy.
Yeah, like you said, it's why you still go back, isn't it? And why we do it. And you know, we've questioned ourselves numerous times this season for, you know, keep turning up value for money. You talk about all of that stuff, but like we've talked about, it's a unique industry, isn't it? And it's a unique following. You wouldn't do anything else. You wouldn't pay the money. You wouldn't give it the time, the hours, the effort for anything else, and still get slapped in the face like we have over however many years now. But yeah, you just keep going back for more, don't you? And yeah, like Mark said, it might be a bit small time, and I've engaged with a couple of people on X this week, you know, and it is different opinions, but if you can't celebrate a win after the 12 months we've had, we might as well all pack it in anyway, mightn't we? Because we fell in love as kids with football because it made us happy and it made you excited and you jumped around when a goal went in. So, you know, I don't think we should forget that, really. That's why we all got into the game. That's why we all love it. And, you know, nothing's really changed from that perspective.
Absolutely.
Sorry, mate. There's a great picture from the Villa end into the South Bank after the second goal goes in. And there's the celebration, and it's just an incredible picture of people completely caught up in something that's you can't explain to a non-football fan the way it feels. It's just a fantastic picture of people celebrating. And, the season we've had, we sat on, we've just broken the double figure barrier. We managed to get a win against our local rivals. We know we're down, and yet people are fully immersed in the moment. It's just incredible. That's what football does to you, isn't it? That's why you want those kind of the moments and those kind of memories, because it's something really special to cling on to.
Absolutely. I talk about this a lot with many people, you guys. Football's an escapism, and there's so much. People have got such busy lives. You've got people who are looking for work. You've got people who are under pressure at work. You've got people who are looking out for their families. They've got people with poorly family members. You've got people who are struggling with their mental health. Your football team is such an incredible escapism where you can all come together. And that moment of ecstasy when your team scores in that game, and the joy, it's just honestly, I'm giving myself goosebumps thinking about it. But it's indescribable, though, isn't it? It's just like that moment. It's pure, and that's why we go. If it was for the football, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. But like the moments we've had together, like we talk about last time when we beat Villa 3-2. We talked to you after the game, Tyler, when obviously me and Nocky were in the away end. What else makes you feel like that? Obviously, you love your family, you care about your family, you care about your mates. But that moment of 5 or 10 seconds, that buzz, it's irreplaceable. And that's why we go, man, I love football. This is episode 158 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knott, Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. Let's go through. We haven't done this for a while because Tyler doesn't like it. But I think tonight we deserve to go through the team because we've won a game and we can actually
Not that I don't like it, but you can only call someone shite so often, can't you?
Well, you can't do that this week, Tyler. So let's go for it.
I'll still find a way, so.
I'm sure you will, and I'm sure
I will with a couple of them names on there, believe me.
When he wears number 24, I'm sure you absolutely will. Nocky, Jose Sarr, at the end of that game, there was a fantastic, I don't know if it hit him in the face, but he's closed the angle fantastically well, and credit to him. I think Jose Sarr's played a big part in that game at the end.
I think it was massive. I mean, he couldn't kick a beach ball accurately, could he? He's got no idea how to use his feet, but shot-stopping wise, he's one of the best with that. And there were some really big moments. There's a shot in the first half, I think it's Douglas Luiz, and yes, he should save it, but it's very easy to bounce up and ping up on him, and he's held it. There's some big moments in that game where he's come out and he's controlled the area, he's got to the feet, he's got into those saving positions. I thought it was a really big performance from Jose. He's like so many of our players, he kind of splits opinions, doesn't he? He's been fighting for that spot with Johnston, but when you see performances like that, I think you realise that he's clearing away our best goalkeeper at the moment, and I think that was a real big performance from him.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, he's the most athletic goalkeeper that's capable of spectacular saves like that. I don't think Sam Johnson makes that, although I think Sam Johnson's probably more steady Eddie with his hands and his passing, but he's not a shot stopper like that. Tyler, moving on to the back three. Shall I, shan't I? Let's start off with Santiago Bueno.
You can't fault the back three because they've got a clean sheet and they've won the game, so it's fine. Santi, like I'm a big fan of, and he's more than warranted that place down. For me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet.
Absolutely.
I think
composure.
Composed, calm, collected, organised, talker, attacks the ball, heads it, kicks it, passes. I'd argue he's okay, isn't he? He's all right. Yerson, he's always going to split opinion. I can't be doing with a lot of his nonsense, if I'm honest, but that's because
there's a question that we'll talk about that separately later because it's
we can. I won't go on about it, but that's because I'm a 41-year-old miserable git probably, but I just don't like that part of the game, whether it's my team doing it or someone else's. And Totti, I think, like I touched upon, first half was abysmal. I thought he'd genuinely win a competition. I was expecting to see him in the half-time game, to be honest, him and Jackson, but luckily they went back down the tunnel and had a bit of a talking to. But yeah, second half, credit where it's due. He came out second half and was what? And he was exceptional. He headed it, he kicked it, he defended brilliantly second half. So, Docky's gone and he's gone. He wasn't expecting it, was he?
What do we do from this point? Apologies to anyone that's offended. Chris Tyler's opinion doesn't represent the Wolves report. Jesus.
Offended by what? Brutal honesty.
Wow, look at your comments. Look at the comments coming through here. You've killed us. The podcast's over, Nocky.
There was a time in the first half he went to kick the ball, he went to clear it on the turn, left-footed, and totally missed the football. And this is the Premier League I'm talking about. So jokes aside, he's miles off it. But second half, I'm not faulting him. But yeah, conversations to be had still for next season.
Thomas says to me, "Come on, Ron, cover the show, man. I'm trying my best here, but I'm
sorry.
laughing at Nocky, but oh my god. There's a really, really good point in here, and just to put a spin on that, the turning point probably was half time, because the way people got behind that game was absolutely fantastic, and the way the fans celebrated that goal was absolutely brilliant. But anyway, let's move away from that. Nocky, if you can compose yourself, please tell me about your in the form of Hugo Bueno and Jackson Chachwa.
I really like Hugo's performance for 90 minutes. I thought he was really, really good. He was a threat down that side defensively. I think he's really improved his defensive game. He just looks a much more rounded player, and he's definitely made that shirt his own. Jackson in the first half, I thought was dreadful. I think the first 2 times he had the ball, he put it straight out of play, and he just didn't. He couldn't get. He looks terrified to me. He looks like a player who's really scared to use the weapons he's got in his arsenal. He just doesn't want to take people on. He'd rather get rid of the ball as quickly as he possibly can. But then second half, I thought he was excellent. He looked a real threat. There's a couple of times he beat his man, and he's got quality from crossing positions as well. Every ball he puts in the box looks a dangerous ball. And that's why the fans get so frustrated with him, because there's some talent there. He's got the ability, but he just doesn't use it. But he was massive in the first goal, and I thought he was really, really good second half. And that could be huge for him. If he can take that performance into the Liverpool game and just give himself a little bit of something to cling on to, I think there's something there that we can utilise, but it's about how he can develop now. But generally, I thought they were very good, and they were a big part in us keeping a clean sheet as well, because Villa were forced into the wide positions. And there was a couple of times Jackson got back and put in a last-minute tackle, and his pace will do that. He'll get you out of trouble. So, yeah, real good performance from both of them.
Yeah, what was really strange to me, Nokia, about Jackson was, like, he was so bad first half, and I know Tyler mentioned it earlier. He was so bad, but second half, he looked really good. His defending was good. There was a slide tackle that was fantastic. But the manager got him doing what he does best. We've not seen enough of it. Look at these pair trying not to laugh. Absolutely done, man.
I'm sad. I don't know what's the matter with everybody.
He has got one skill for me, and that's incredible pace. And he didn't use it properly first half. I want him to get to the ball line and put crosses in. And in the second half, he kept it basic, he kept to his strengths, and he defended really well. So, yeah, but Hugo Bueno, someone's put on here, probably Wolves' consistent player of the season so far. And I'd say probably alongside Ladislav. That's probably right. Fair comment, Tyler?
I think he's been very good. And he was sort of in and out the side, wasn't he, start of the season. Pereira didn't know whether it was Molavol for Bueno, but last few weeks he's been okay, hasn't he? And, we can't get too carried away, because obviously still where we are, but certainly he's been one of the most consistent and steady performers, and he's come on defensively. He's a different fullback to Aït-Nouri, isn't he, who's very silky and likes the ball at his feet, and Hugo's athletic, he's dynamic, he's quick. Again, I think sometimes he takes a bit of time to grow into the game and to get into it, but he's a threat, isn't he? And obviously he scored the wonder goal against Arsenal. He puts a good ball in. I'm sure we'll come on to it, and obviously we were having a bit of a ding-dong us three yesterday, weren't we? This team is better than 13 points. They are. The players are of a better calibre and a better standard than that, and they've shown that against Villa. They've shown that against Arsenal. We can't go back in time. We can't change anything, can we? But hopefully we're starting to see that, there's something there with some of these players. And, yeah, Hugo, for me, probably at the moment would be sort of my player of the season vote.
Absolutely. Nocky, moving on to the Brazilian Bulldogs. Now, I don't think this graphic truly represents how the team went. I'd say Jean Rickner was probably a little bit deeper in midfield. Sometimes Mane as well, and they sort of take it in turns breaking, in particular Mane. But yeah, the Brazilian Bulldogs, we've talked about in questions on here, there's not enough creativity. They're great stoppers, they're great tacklers. This was their best pair as a duo for me for as far back as I can remember, Nocky.
They're so much better when you've got a player around them. And
yeah.
I know Bellegarde was supporting the attack, but he's got such an engine on him, and he'll drop into that midfield and he will support them, and it just gives Gomez a little bit more freedom to get forward. I think Andre's quite happy sitting back and supporting the back three, but you just allow us to release Gomez, and we know that he's got quick feet. We know that he has got a little bit of quality about him, and the fact he's only scored, was that his first goal in 34 games or something? For a player who's shown the promise he's shown, that's totally unacceptable. So you need someone around him, and I thought they bounced off each other really well, and they were up against a really difficult midfield as well. I think Amadou Onana's a real strong physical player, and then you've got Morgan Rogers, who's, he plays for England, doesn't he? He's full of quality. So to play the way we did and kind of control that midfield as much as we possibly could, you can't do that if you've not got those two in that midfield with Bellegarde supporting, because they'll have too much space to play into. So yeah, really, really good. Really, really pleased for them as well, because they've not shown that in recent weeks.
Yeah, I'm delighted. I mean, maybe it's taken a bit of time to getting used to of not having the out ball, but we bided our time and it worked. And I don't see now how you could possibly change that, because them two look like a pair that could play together. I mean, there's not a lot to play for, but you'd have to say that's probably our strongest team for when you want to pick our strongest team. I think
it's the consistency though. I mean, I was tongue-in-cheek last week when I was hammering Gomez. I know that he is a good player, but I've not seen enough of that. And he has one good game and then he drops out for 3 or 4 games. I want to see more consistency from him. There's no point throwing this performance in once every 10 matches. You need to have that consistent level if you want to be a top quality operator. Because I think if he put in performances like that every week, he's got his pick of clubs for me. But you know that he won't. He hasn't got the consistency. So they just need to find a bit of a balance. I don't know whether having Jean Rickner with them will enable him to do that. But if we do have that between now and the end of the season, then I think Wolves will win a few more games.
Absolutely. And goals like that and performances like that certainly won't help with getting the price that we want either. Moving on to the two sort of bespoke 10s, should we call them, in Jean Rickner and Matheus Mane, Tyler?
Yeah, I enjoy both, to be honest. You boys know I'm not Bellegarde's biggest fan, but I said it at the start, I think we're a better team when he's in it, especially with the security of those two behind him. I'm still not fully sure what his role is and what his best position is, but games like that and other games where he takes the ball on the half turn,
he always does that well against Villa.
He'll scored last season. He'll try and be positive, and he tries to get you up the pitch and he tries to get you forward. And in a team of probably, where you can count probably their 7 more defensive-minded players, that's crucial, really. And I enjoyed his performance, his endeavour, his work rate. He must be a nightmare to play against, if nothing else. And Mane, again, I touched upon it at the start. I mean, crikey, 18. You've seen a lot of players burst through, but he seems to pretty much have a bit of everything. He was, heading it away, defensive headers from set pieces. He's up the other end. He's causing trouble. You don't want to overdo it, because you've seen a lot of players come in at this age and then not quite kick on. But I'd argue I can't see much. And you know what I'm like with footballers. I'm hard to be, pleased and impressed. I can't see much that he hasn't got, and he can go probably as far as he wants, in all honesty.
I mean, it's no secret of how much I've talked about Jean Rickner on here, because I'm a big fan of what he does. I think he was a victim of his flexibility. You know what I mean? At one point we tried him at wing back. He's played wide left, wide right. He's played everywhere. When Jean Rickner plays centre midfield, particularly in a 3, he's very, very good. Villa away this season, very, very good. Wolves unfortunate. Again, in the midfield 3 at home v Villa, really, really good. I like him, and I hope he stays fit and he gets in the team. Will he be a Wolves player in the Championship? I think Wolves will be a good team. If Jean Rickner Bellegarde was playing Championship football, I think he probably gets a move away. But yeah, I'm a big fan. As for Mane, the one thing that staggers me the most, this wasn't his most glamorous or spectacular or doing the magical things to get you off your seat. The strength of this guy for 18 years old, he's going up against an England centre-back and he's holding his own strength-wise. I think this is, let's say, a phenomenal find. I know we got him from someone else's academy, but he's lasting nearly every game. He's playing 90 minutes most weeks. He's winning his physical battles. Nocky, he's not getting bullied. He's so, for 18 years old, I mean, I know I'm bigging him up and I don't think he'll be a Wolves player next season, but the strength of that guy was the most impressive, as Tyler said, heading the ball away and stuff like that. But the strength of him against seasoned professionals, England internationals, there's a lot to come from this kid.
He's just fearless, isn't he? I think that's what happens when you throw younger players in. And Edwards, again, deserves a bit of credit for being brave enough to put him in and stick with him. You get that little bit of youthful exuberance where they're just going to have a go. And he doesn't see an Ezri Konsa as an international. He sees Ezri Konsa as a bit of a chance, a bit of an opportunity to go and have a bit of a run at someone of that quality. And he's going to go a lot higher than Wolves. And I do agree we'll lose him at the end of the season. But if you're talking 50 million or more, which is what I think Wolves should be commanding for him, you almost rebuild your squad with that, don't you? So there's no losses if he stays or if he goes, because it's a huge opportunity for us to rebuild off the back of it or build a team around him if he does stay. But he's a very talented player. I was at Everton when he, collected the ball with a fabulous touch of the outside of the boot and bent it around one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And we saw his first ever strike against West Ham, which was just low and angry into the bottom corner. He's just got so many different routes and avenues that he can play. I still don't think we know where his best position is. I still think we're trying to explore that and understand it ourselves. He's almost an 8.5, isn't he, the way he plays? He can drop into midfield, but he likes to come forward and support the attack. He's got so many different routes that he can go. But he looked like he was absolutely shattered 65, 70 minutes in, and I thought they were going to hook him. And then in the 96th minute, he's bombing up the pitch to help set up the second goal. So, yeah, really good performance from him. And he's been involved in a team that's really been struggling, has taken a lot of bomb damage, and he's just kept his head up. He's kept working hard, and he's kept doing the things that he knows he can do well. So he's clearly got a very strong personality and a very strong, mental fortitude about him to be able to do that. And that's what you need if you're going to make it in football.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Adam Armstrong. I think this is probably Adam Armstrong's. I'll do this one. Adam Armstrong's best game in a Wolves shirt. I think you guys both mentioned. I think you mentioned earlier on if Ruben Neves was in the team, and I think you messaged the WhatsApp group, the group chat on Friday night. Tyler said his movement's phenomenal, and it was. He kept making those runs first half, but no one really found him. His work rate, he was tackling people into touch. I mean, again, I don't think he meant the touch, but he's in the right position. I think that's going to be a very, very good acquisition for the Championship next season, because he's a man that's 28, almost 29 now, maybe he's 29, coming into the prime of his career. He held his own on Friday night, and it really, really bodes well for the future. I like his attitude. He works really hard. He's unselfish. He's a proper team player. I'd like to see a few goals, but he's playing in a really poor team. This is episode 158 of the Wolves Report. Chris Tyler, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. Second part of the show. I mean, we've got 43 minutes in, so we probably haven't got too long on this. But second part of the show, let's talk about Rob Edwards and the job he's done so far. The reason I've done this is because there's such a sort of contrast on views we talk about on the podcast group chat, and I thought it'd be an interesting chat to share. So, Knocky, let's start with you. I want to get your take on Rob Edwards for first few months in charge so far.
I know we're going to differ on this. I think he's doing okay. I don't think he's been perfect. I don't think he's made errors. But I think he's done okay. And I know you like stats, Roy. So the XG's up, the shot conversions up, the big chance creations up, possessions up, passing accuracy is up.
Someone's done his own work.
XG against.
This is what's fantastic.
XG against is down. And then when you compare him purely with Vitor this season, XG's up, shot ratios up, and conceded goals are down. So that's the statistics side of it. I look at it, I'm not a huge fan of statistics, but I think that when you look at what he came into, it was a really bad situation that wasn't of his own making. It wasn't his fault what he walked into. It wasn't his error. He didn't make those signings. And then he loses arguably his best striker, although he's not in, he's not in great form, but he's still his best player, replaces him with Championship players. And I think considering the situation he walked into, in my opinion, I think he's doing an okay job based on what was presented to him. And if we had a conversation around what were we hoping for this season, and it was kind of, let's hope we beat Derby's record. Well, he's done that. And I know a lot of people won't agree, and a lot of people think we should be looking at a different direction. I'll be really interested to know what people think, who we could get in that's going to be better than Edwards, and that he's going to bring more to us than could have done more with that group of players.
Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Tyler, your take on Rob Edwards and the job he's done so far?
I think you know my thoughts. And there's nothing against Rob, and Nocky puts a good argument across, but
Great stats, Nocky, by the way. Love that. Proper done
there's
his Sunday
also
homework. Love it.
there's other stats as well, isn't it? That he's won 2 out of 18 games, and so someone's put there. At the end of the day, you could talk about it till you're blue in the face. It's wins and losses that count, isn't it? Whether you're at this level or managing a kids' team on a Sunday morning, that's what you're judged upon. And it's hard, isn't it? Like we just touched upon, these players aren't that bad for me. They're not 2 wins in the season. He's had 18 games, he's won 2, so he's had half a season. I'm not great at maths, but if you double that over the course of a season, he wins 4 games, and people say he's doing okay. Not for me. We were 8 points behind when he came in, and now I've lost count of how many points behind we are, to be honest. So yeah, I didn't want him. So there is that. That's my agenda. I didn't think he was the right man for the job. I think he's been at football clubs that are, no disrespect to them, nowhere near the size of Wolverhampton Wanderers, whether that's Luton, Middlesbrough, Forest Green, wherever he's been. And he's sort of almost not the underdog manager, but he's the manager that sort of punches a little bit above his weight. And I think you made a great point yesterday, Ryan, when we spoke, that the expectation on Wolves next season is going to be absolutely enormous. We're going to be the biggest team in the league unless a West Ham or a Spurs go down. We're probably going to have a decent budget. Is he the man to do that? I've said months ago, I don't think he's got enough about him to turn a football club around the size of Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I'm still yet to see anything in that. But that's only my opinion and my thought process.
I'm going to try and find myself some way in the middle, not just to try and balance it, because generally I think that's the way the conversations have been. And that's a really good point. I'm glad you reminded me, Tyler. Like, Rob Edwards feels to me like an underdog manager, like he did at Luton. Fantastic job, did absolutely brilliant. Sort of got Middlesbrough together. They're on the crest of a wave. They might finish top 2. Fantastic. I don't think Middlesbrough were favourites to go up. As Tyler says, Wolves will be favourites. Is Rob Edwards the right man, the right person, tactically, emotionally? I mean, absolutely loved it on Friday night. I loved him going crazy. That's what I want to see from Rob. I don't want to see him telling us he cares. I want to see the team showing and him showing. And I got that on Friday. I don't need you to tell us that you're trying or you care, because if you're having to explain that to us, I feel like there's something there, because it's your job. No disrespect, but it's your job. You are supposed to be elite coaches and managers and athletes. Your job is to try your best. Your job is to care, because you are in the 0.001% of footballers in the world in the Premier League. So don't tell us, show us. But credit to Friday, you did show us. However, is Rob Edwards the man to take us back? I want him to be, because I do love his passion. I love the connection to the club. But equally, if there was a man at the club that had no connection, like Nuno before and did the job, that would be absolutely fantastic. I'm not really sure. Do I want Rob to succeed? Yes. Does the 2-2 against Arsenal and the Villa at home lead me towards thinking, actually, maybe I'm being a bit harsh? Yeah, it probably does. I probably am being a bit harsh. But equally, we've all got our opinions. And there's a few things that have happened in the season, like changing the tactics when you're on an unbeaten run. You've been utterly dreadful. You've stumbled upon a system. You're unbeaten in 4 or 5. Yes, I'm including the Shrewsbury game in that, Tyler. And you're playing well, and then you change it. And then since then, you go on a run where you're inconsistent, you can't find it, when there's no need to change it. So, okay, boys, if you're old school rating, doing the homework, give me your rating for Rob so far this season.
Before we do that, are you talking about next season? What do you expect our transfer plan to be next season?
I'm really glad you asked me that, and that's not set up. So Wolves, having sold a lot of talent, should be in a good financial situation. So Wolves should be attacking the Championship. I mean, as openly discussed in the meeting when I was lucky enough to be in there with Nathan and his team, Wolves expect to contend next season. They expect to be challenging. So with that kind of conversation, I'd expect them to be putting up a reasonable budget to be buying some very good footballers. That's what I'd expect. But just one caveat on that, Nocky. Are Wolves going to go to the Gestifute stable like they did under Nuno? If they do, and they're buying a load of Spanish and Portuguese players again, all right, is Rob Edwards the man to lead that team back? I don't think he is. If Rob Edwards has his say with Matt Jackson and it's a more British base, which they talked about, then Rob Edwards probably is. But Wolves need to make up their mind. Are they going to pick and choose some Gestifute? Is it going to be George Mendes? This is a big thing for me. You can't, because I don't think you could bring in those kind of players and expect a Rob Edwards Brexit ball promotion. I just don't think you could. But if Wolves are going to be purely Gestifute, then you probably need a Gestifute manager. Now, I'm not writing him off. I want him to do well. I want him to succeed. I loved how emotional he was. I loved how much he celebrated. Good for him. It's good to see it. But Nocky, yeah, sorry, back to your point.
I think you're dreaming if we go to the Ruben Neves, Diogo Jota.
Yeah, but that method of going big Gestifute, I'm not saying that particularly those players. I'm saying if it's a George Mendes base window and we're signing Portuguese and Spanish players, does that suit the way Rob Edwards wants to play?
But why would it be that way? The two signings we made that we're going to take into next season is Adam Armstrong and Angel Gomez, who I think probably signs at the end of the season. That tells you what we're looking to do next season. Those are the kind of players that Rob Edwards has worked with successfully with Luton to get them promoted and to build a promotion challenging squad with Middlesbrough. So if you are going to go down that route, Rob Edwards is the kind of manager that you'd be looking for to take that on. And I get it, if you're going to go completely foreign, then go and bid him and get in a foreign manager. But the track record of this club tells me it's very unlikely they're going to get that right. I'd rather have a manager who has got the experience of getting out of that league, have an understanding of how that league works, and has already started preparing for next season, rather than binning him off, going right back to a full reset and starting all over again. I just don't see the logic of doing that. I'm not saying that Rob Edwards is the right man long term. I'm not saying that. And if they get rid of him, they get rid of him, that's fine. But you've got to have a game plan. We're in a really good position where we can absolutely prep to be in next season's championship and know where we're going to be in order to be having those conversations. We don't even know who our manager's going to be. We're going to be in a position where we get towards the end of the window, you nudge in September, and we've probably still got a João Gomez and an Andre knocking around because we haven't had the deals we want yet. We haven't started building those players in. I want to give someone an opportunity, and I think, in my opinion, Edwards is the right man to do that based on his track record to try and get us back if we're going down that British route, which is where I expect to be. If he fails, he fails.
Where about Luton? One promotion.
He took Luton Town to the Premier League. How many managers would take Luton Town to the Premier League? And I know he struggled when they come back down.
Most teams in the Championship and the Premier League have been in the Premier League. You're talking about a track record like he gets teams up every season. He's got one promotion to the Premier League, hasn't he?
He's building the foundations of Borough, though. They were in the position they were in because of the moves he made in the market and the players he brought in.
Again, it's a totally different ball game, isn't it? Managing Luton Town to Wolves is chalk and cheese for me. Chalk and cheese.
Borough are pretty close to us, though, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're not. They're relatively similar in size.
But they were delighted when he left. They've kicked on since he's gone. No Middlesbrough fan was sad to see the back of him, mate.
The amount of abuse we took. Every time we lost a game, that Middlesbrough fans were all over our Twitter page. Every time something went wrong, they were on our Twitter page. You don't do that if you're happy if someone's left.
Yeah, but ask them now. They're delighted he's gone. He hasn't got a track record. He's got a track record of nearly doing a double dip with Luton. And because he got sacked from that, it wasn't his name against it. It's the same with any argument. You make the stats to back your argument. You've done that with his stats, and I've done it with my stats of him. But I can't say you can say he's got a track record of getting teams promoted because he's done it once.
So you'd sack him, right? Who would you bring him?
It's not my job to find that out, mate. I mean, I'll text you a list of 10 names, and you disregarded them all, didn't you, the other week? But Ryan makes a good point. If you go, I don't think they'll go down the Mendes route. I don't. But I don't see how you can keep a man in charge who's won 2 out of 18 games and then try and spin that to have a positive mindset going into the next season. I just physically don't see how that's going to happen.
But do you not think we've shown improvements, though? I mean, I don't think we lose at Palace if we get down to 10 men. We got a draw against Arsenal, who are top of the league. We've just beaten Villa. I think we look more solid as a unit. We're not shipping the goals that we used to ship. And this is all with players that he inherited. And the squad's been weakened since he came in. So for me, that's improvement.
The players inherited argument for me never washes because he doesn't get the job or the opportunity if Wolves are doing well. No one held a gun to his head. He was very keen to come to this football club and he wanted it, and he's obviously he talks a great game, doesn't he? We've seen him in the journalism, we've seen him with his mates after the games. There have been some decent performances. There's been some absolute trash as well, absolute garbage. And I think because we won yesterday, we're sort of glasses half empty again, aren't we? But after the 2 Forest performances, for example, we were glasses half empty. Sorry, we're half full now. I have I seen an improvement? Not necessarily. The one thing I like about him is that he's sort of brought Mane in and not built a team around him, but has obviously tried to get him in the team. But I haven't seen much improvement. Like I said, we're worse off now than before we signed.
Yeah, I'm going to jump back in the middle here again, guys. For some aspects, I have seen an improvement, but I'll go to what Tyler says. That Forest performance, even though we drew, was probably the worst I've seen us play since we're back in the Premier League. It was utterly pathetic. Yet, we went to Old Trafford. We could have probably had something there. We went to Arsenal. We're unlucky to lose. We went to Villa. Very unlucky to lose. 2-0 down against Arsenal, come back, beat Villa. So is there improvements? Let me just finish. We're not being smashed by anybody, but I am somewhere in the middle of here, you guys. I want Rob to succeed, but this is such sort of an interesting topic, and I'm looking at the comments and people are really split. Like, Nocky, you're being hammered for your opinion. Tyler, you're being hammered for your opinion. There's no middle ground here. Well, that's my job to host and be in the middle. There's no real middle ground because people are so split on Rob Edwards. I mean, you're both getting hammered in the comments, but it's their comments, guys, and we're here to sort of share. And I know people are passionate about it, but it's just this is such a great debate. And I mean, it's probably not like this, but there will be conversations going on at Molineux. Will Nathan be wanting to keep Rob Edwards for next season? Will he see him as the man going forward? Because I'd imagine the likes of Matt Jackson will definitely want him because he was part of bringing him into the club. So the club could be having conversations, probably more articulate than this and that, but I'd imagine some stats will show. But Tyler, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say, all those games you mentioned are exactly what you said, Ryan. Wolves were massive underdogs. No pressure, nothing to win or lose, played well. The games where I would expect us to be on the front foot and arguably get results, we've been disgusting in. Forest home and away, Brentford at home, Bournemouth at home. When we've been up against the big teams, admittedly, Wolves have done okay because we've been the underdog. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. For me, he just strikes me as that sort of manager. Small time, plucky team, going against the big guns and trying to get results. And he's done well with that. But when the pressure's been on Wolves, he's been miles off it.
I mean, I'd like to answer all the comments here, but I think it's probably best I don't. But I'll pick out the ones that I want. Sharky says, winds me up how you guys ignore the state of the squad building and stick it to Rob for his shortcomings in a squad that was on 2 points. Do you know what? I do acknowledge, absolutely, Sharky, that the squad is absolutely terrible. I agree. I think Vitor Pereira and the recruitment there have a lot to answer for. But what I would say, Sharky, is although Wolves have lost a lot of talent and been not replaced adequately, what I would say is the performance against Arsenal, the performance against Villa show that what this squad is capable of, and it shows that we've not been getting the best out of them. So I would argue that although this squad for me is a relegation battle squad, a 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th quarter squad, I don't believe this squad of players should be bottom of the league. I think they've underperformed under Rob. I think they've underperformed under Vitor. So, but equally, and I'm going to give Rob his credit, our better performances this season have quite comfortably come under Rob, and I'm grateful for that. Second half against Arsenal, Villa, like on Friday night we talked about. So, Sharky, I hope that helps balance your argument. Thank you for your comment. Gentlemen.
Yeah, I've got no more questions, Your Honour.
I don't claim to have any better football knowledge than anyone. I'm only going purely on what we see, and we all have different opinions, don't we? And I certainly don't. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just trying to look at it from a balanced perspective. I don't think any manager currently working in the Premier League keeps Wolves up at the position that they'd have come in when Rob Edwards came in. Because it's not just the fact that we're on 2 points, it's the damage mentally that's been done to the players as well. And they're young men, and you've got to try and dig them out of a ditch. I personally have seen an improvement in performances. I've saw a more solid foundation. I've seen a manager who's blooding young players. I've seen decisions that have affected games. I've seen positive results as a result of the changes he's made. And we seem to be very quick to dismiss that and come up with, well, he stumbled onto this, he stumbled onto that. He's manager when we found those formations. And there has been some poor performances, absolutely. But for me, he's made us a little bit more difficult to beat. And I think that there's a better version of Wolverhampton Wanderers since he took over. And he may, it may keep him and then they've bin him off in October because we sat in the middle of the Championship. That could happen. But I don't think we are a club that are in a position to be thinking we're going to get much better currently the way that we operate. That's just my opinion.
We probably should have done a whole episode on this because I think we could talk and debate and be prepared with our stats and numbers. This is episode 158 of the Wolves Report with Nocky, Tyler and myself. Ryan Lester, let's do one quick question before we move on to the double header because it is Tyler's bedtime and we do not want to keep Tyler up late at night. Guys, just what I would say is, listen, all we're asking for is just a bit of interaction there. And I know it's really passionate. And I know some people are really defensive about Rob. I know some people are really anti-Rob. But that's just my opinion. That's Nocky's opinion. That's Tyler's opinion. And I can see some of you arguing with yourself, but we're just there because we love Wolverhampton Wanderers. We've all got an opinion, and that's why we're talking about Wolves. Let's ask some questions. There's a really good one that I wanted to get onto about Yerson. Where was it? There's a question about Yerson, and I can't find it now, and it's annoyed me. I can't find it. But anyway, just quickly about this Yerson Mosquera. He seems to be really splitting fans at the moment. There's a few questions and I can't find them, and that's not absolutely no good to me whatsoever. But this is a guy for me, and I know people are talking about Nocky, Tyler, that they're frustrated with his antics and his behaviour. Every Premier League team has got a couple of players that are doing this. Do I agree with how the game should be played like that? No. If you can't beat them, join them. Yerson, for me, is one of the first names on the team sheet. He's an absolute madman, but he's box office. What team is 1-0 up in a local derby in the 96th minute, and then your centre-back decides he's a centre-forward, and he's that fit and strong that he's the furthest man forward on a counter-attack? Nocky.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts of his game that I'm not 100% comfortable with. I think he's a walking red card. I think he gets booked and then he'll start attacking the referee. So I think he's one of them characters, isn't he? But I don't think you can take any of those elements out of his game because that's just who he is. I love him. I think he's such a character, and I think we're in a world now where there just aren't characters in football anymore. They're so limited, and he's fun. He makes it entertaining to watch. He'll support an attack in the 96th minute when he really should be just staying in his position and trying to see the game out. He plays with his heart on his sleeve. He plays a lot like a fan would play, I think. He's just 100% and keeps going.
I could run that quick.
He's not perfect and he makes some errors, and we know that he's got a rick in him, but I want to have players who are willing to bleed for the shirt, and I feel like he's the kind of player that does that. So the antics are frustrating, and I can see why people get annoyed by them. And there is elements of that I'd like him to trim out of his game because he's going to cost us points if he behaves like that again with some referees. I mean, we've seen Mario Lemina get sent off for walking aggressively towards a referee. So our Yerson hasn't been binned off yet. He's quite a shock. But for me, I like him. I think he's earned the shirt, and I think he keeps the shirt. And I'd like to see him next season as well, because I think he'd be fun in the Championship.
Tyler?
Yeah, I agree with most of what Nocky said. I personally, I can't deal with players pretending to be injured. I hate that. I really don't like it at all. Maguire did it today, didn't he? Strand Larson sort of went up high. And it's just, I can't stand that, so I can't defend it, and I don't want any player doing it. And if Yerson's on the end of a yellow card for it, then so be it. If he cuts those silly bits out of his game, he can still do the housery piece. He can still wind up the opponents. He can still niggle, kick, talk, pull, tug. He doesn't need to fake injury. I really don't like that. So if he took that out of his game, yeah, I agree with everything Mark said. And the one thing you get from him, you get your money's worth, don't you? He's all effort, he's all energy, he's all impact. And to be fair, that piece of defending there that you've got on the screen was really good. It was top draw defending. Didn't go to ground, didn't slide in, stood up. Made Watkins shoot early and blocked it. So, yeah, I agree with what you said.
Got one off the line in the last minute, didn't I?
Yeah, well, it was a brilliant save from Sarr, and it took the weight off the ball, and then Yerson's clear. But the reason I wanted to talk about this was Roger and Bobby that brought comments up, and I couldn't find them on the long list of questions. But Roger, Bobby, thank you for raising it, and I hope that's covered it a bit. Just
is that Roger and Bobby Mosquera that sent those questions in?
Mr. R. Mosquera. Yeah, but I like Yerson, and the one thing that is frustrating, like with Harry Maguire today, they just seem to forget that there are.
I hate it.
There
yeah.
are high definition replays, slow motion. There's cameras. There's every fan in the ground, and if you're play acting or up to it, everyone can see. And granted, I guess, in they're playing the game of trying to get people booked. I don't really like that either, to be honest.
Nah.
But if I had to choose, do you want to keep Yerson or get rid of him? I'm 100% keeping him because he's a bit mad and he's fun. And like as Nocky said, he's box office anyway. This is episode 158 of the Wolves Report. In the next week, we face Liverpool twice in a matter of days. Again, I'd love to have more time to debate this, but we haven't. My feelings are really, really clear. We've won the local derby. I'm delighted. Wolverhampton Wanderers are not staying in the Premier League. So I do not want to see Wolves throw the lot at it on Tuesday night to go toe-to-toe with the Liverpool team that are chasing Champions League football. For me, I rotate Angel Gomez, Mola Wolf, Lima, Rodrigo, Johnson. For me, I'm mixing it up on Tuesday and I'm going full blast in the cup. I'm guessing again, this is gonna change things up. But yeah, we'll start with you this time, Tyler.
Yeah, I think I'll probably agree. The only caveat to that is I think Wolves have a big break after these two, I think, between the next game. And then I think, weirdly, we have like 3 weeks off or something. So, I don't know. Momentum's a big thing, isn't it? And you could argue now this is probably the most positive a Wolves squad's felt probably throughout the whole season. Do you want to go into the Liverpool game and try and kick that on? Flip side is, like you've just touched upon, you can make enough changes, still be competitive, and put a decent side out. I don't ever want to see my team throw a game, so to speak, and I'm not saying obviously Wolves would ever do that, but if you're asking me now which one do I want to win, I want to win the game on Friday night, so I suppose that answers your question around what I'd probably look to do.
Nocky, I saw you shaking your head, and I kind of know what's coming, but if you put Mola Wolf in at wing back one side, played at Grimsby, played well. If you put Pedro Lima in, we're all desperate to see play. If you put Rodrigo further up, if Matt Doherty comes in, if Ladislav Krejci comes in, if Angel Gomez comes in, if Sam Johnson comes in, we're talking about players that have all been a regular part of the first team at some point in this season. Is it really going to damage Wolves that much to rest the players that were so good against Aston Villa?
Yes, it is. I mean, out of that list you just said there, Krejci's the only one who doesn't weaken us by coming back in. And I get your point, but also Tyler's point as well. We've got like 3 weeks off after this. I don't see any reason now, unless you've got the sports science telling you someone's redlining, that we don't go full hammer in both, because momentum is so important. And we've got a feel good factor. If we could beat Liverpool or take a point off Liverpool, and bearing in mind in our last 2 home games we've managed to get 4 points against Arsenal and Villa, there's no reason that we couldn't be competitive against Liverpool, especially now we've broke that derby record, because we know that monkey's off our back a little bit and we can just relax and play football now and see what we can get out of it. So personally, I would completely understand if you did rotate, but if you take Hugo out and put Mola Wolf in, you weaken the attack. If you put Angel Gomez in instead of João Gomez, you weaken the midfield. So I don't want to see us weaken it against a team that have just put 5 past West Ham and clearly very dangerous going forward. I want us to be as strong as we possibly can. They may weaken their side, but they've got a wonderful squad to do that with. We're not in that position. So I want to go full hammer, try and win both games, and let's see what happens. Maybe you win one of the two. Maybe you lose them both anyway, but I'd rather do that by having a go than rotating everyone. And if you do that piece and we get beat, it's going to cause a big fracture between Wolves supporters, because you're going to feel like, you touched on it earlier, not throwing a game, but doing a bit of a Mick McCarthy, aren't you, when we just weakened it so that we could focus on the next game. Either competition, I don't think Wolves are going to have any success in. It would be nice to go further in the FA Cup, of course it would, but it'd also be nice to pick up a few more points and just maybe put a bit of pressure on Burnley above us. And I want to see us with some momentum going into next season. So I'll go as strong as we possibly can. That's just my opinion.
And again, we're all somewhere mixed up, aren't we? I just think when Wolves go out the cup, whether it's more likely Friday, that's Wolves' season over, because we are relegated. We'll probably relegated sometime late in March. That's it then. I just feel there's a tactical manoeuvre to be played. We're not talking about, yes, Nocky, you are talking about weakening the team. There's no reason you can't go 5-3-2 or 5-4-1 and stink the place out and really work Liverpool hard. You know what I mean? We're talking about some of these players. Mola Wolf at one point, goals, assists, crosses. I just think that we've got an opportunity to progress in the cup. Now, I get what you're saying, and there's an argument for both. I personally think Rob will go strong as he can again on Tuesday, and then come Friday, you'll see Liverpool make changes and Wolves make changes. And for me, I would find that frustrating because I think that's a massive missed opportunity. Liverpool are better than Wolves, there's no doubt about it. But the version of Wolves I've seen against Arsenal in the second half and against Villa in the second half, that could beat, a Liverpool team on Friday night. It could beat a Liverpool team on Tuesday night. I just think Wolves need to think long and hard about this. We're not talking about playing a load of people on Tuesday that haven't played before and just giving a load of kids a game and just rolling over 5 or 6-0. But don't get me wrong, if you said to me, you can lose 3-0 on Tuesday, but you're guaranteed to go through on the cup, I'd take that because it prolongs the season, because I'd love a trip to Wembley again. You win that game on Friday, you win the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, you get a plum draw, you might go to Wembley. We're in football to dream. Do you know what I mean? I just think, I know what I think he'll do. I know what I think he will do. But yeah, it's a great debate. But yeah, we are on episode 158 of the Wolves Report. We are 11 minutes into overtime. I'm going to get a dirty DM from Tyler telling me off once again. Any more comment on that, gents?
Who would you put up front?
Huang's back full training. Huang's back full training next week. Go on, Channy, show him some.
And without being rude, do we really know what our best?
Tolo didn't start, so you can start Tolo as well. So there's another one.
That's what I mean. It's like we don't really know what our best 11 is, if we're being honest, do we? We've just mentioned names tonight, but you know, if Tolo or Armstrong plays, it's neither here nor there. If Krejci or Totti play, it's neither here nor there. That there are some areas where you obviously weaken the pitch, but yeah, horses for courses for me.
Yeah. Any final comment on that, Luca?
I'm interested that Tyler thinks Totti's the same level as Krejci. He's obviously had a bit of a 360.
I just don't think there's much in it. There isn't much in it. There's not much in it if you play Angel Gomez or João Gomez or Andre. There's not loads in it.
I think man for man, they're better players, so I want to see the best 11 play. But I would completely understand if he does make that decision. I'd just like to see us try and win both games.
Yeah, I would like that as well, Nocky. I just think if Wolves were in a relegation battle, I'd expect them to throw everything at Tuesday night and change everything on Friday night. As Wolves could win every game and still maybe get relegated, do you know what? We're so far behind. I think a sensible focus. You don't have to cripple us on Tuesday night by making ridiculous changes. You can play all those players we mentioned and still have a competitive team going. Like Tolo comes in. I'm always crying for Tolo to come and play. Mola Wolf isn't terrible. We're all desperate for Pedro Lima to play. We're talking about Rodrigo impacting. Go and show us a start. We're talking about Angel Gomez. We're all excited about him signing. Those players coming in the team aren't terrible. And for me, making those changes to protect an Andre, to protect Hugo Bueno and a few others, for me, it just seems to make sense. But
we've said Rodrigo can't start games. Lima's barely kicked a ball for us all season. And we've said how important Hugo is for us in that wing-back area. So for me, I do think you weaken your squad. And I do agree we don't know our best 11 yet. But I think we're getting close to a version of it, and that's probably the team that was played against Villa, with maybe Tolu coming in. Or you're going to make some smart decisions. Maybe you take Bellegarde out because he's been injured.
Andre was cramping up at the end of the game as well. I'll take him up as well.
Totti won't play 3 games in a week either. He's been out injured.
Totti comes out.
At this level, it's very rare that these elite athletes are going to all play 3 games in 7 days. That ain't going to happen. So there are going to be changes. It's just when and where, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Some of them you're going to have to make. And Krejci comes in. He didn't play last week. And I think if anyone is close, there's no point risking injury. So you've got to rely on your medical team and your sports science team, haven't you, to make those decisions. But hopefully it's enough for us to give Liverpool a game and maybe give the fans another memory.
Absolutely. My secret is out. Sharky says Ryan loves Rob, copied his trim. Secret's out, man. Love you, Rob. Thanks, Sharky, for being part of it. Another comment here from 123 North Street. Any hope Ryan could be Wolves Trust chairman? I can hardly control or manage or get the best out of these, so I wouldn't trust me with the trust. The guys over there, I think, are doing a good job, far more articulate than me. Listen, I can't even manage or look after these pair and my podcast, never mind anything else, but I'll take that as a compliment. It is almost prediction time. Well, it is prediction time. We are well into overtime on this Sunday evening. Thank you to Nocky. Thank you to Tyler, as always, for spending their time with me on a Sunday or Monday evening. Prediction times, Nocky. You know what comes next. Don't let me down.
Do you want both or just the first game?
I mean, do we want 6 bongos? I think one.
No,
I think three's enough. So
I'll go 1-1 for the home game. For the home game, they're both home games, aren't they? I'll go 1-1 for the league game, and I'm gonna go 2-0 Wolves winning the cup. Why not?
Just repeat that again. Sorry.
1-1 on it's Tuesday, and it 1-1 on Tuesday, and 2-0 on Friday.
Who's going to score the goals, mate?
Adam Armstrong is going to get Adam Armstrong's going to score Tuesday, and Andre's going to get his first ever shot on target and score for us.
He's not had a shot on target. Tyler.
0-2 on Tuesday. Ekatike and I don't know. 2-1 to Wolves on the Friday. Ekatike again, because this is too confusing for me.
We've both got us going through in the cup. It's ridiculous. It's amazing what a local derby can do. I'm going to go for a 3-1 defeat on Tuesday with Hwang Hee-chan scoring, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wolves win with Tolu opening the scoring on Friday night. This has been episode 158 of the Wolves Report. Of the Wolves.